the material derivative which comes in the case of this fluid dynamic analysis. So the material derivative. So what is this material derivative is? So actually this is also called as the substantial derivative. So this concept actually we will be using in the continuity equation. So this substantial derivative actually which involves actually space and time derivatives. So the concept of this material derivative actually coming from the fact that actually we will be using the Euler's way of analysis, which says that as per the Euler way of analysis, any fluid property can be expressed as f of x comma y comma z comma t. So that means actually at one particular space point we are associating the fluid property. That property may be a velocity or maybe a density or maybe a acceleration. So any particular fluid property, when it is crossing one particular point, so at that particular point actually the characteristic is associated to that particular position at that particular time. So these are the four different variables that are there. That means this is going to be a function of x, y, z, which will be the space coordinates, and along with that actually there is a time coordinate as well. All the four values together depending upon the type of function, so we are going to get the property value at that particular point. Now actually if you wanted to find out the change of that property, now the change can happen in two different ways. So one is actually, suppose if I take the same point, the position is fixed there, but still actually if there is a time change, then obviously actually it is expected that the function is going to be changed at this particular point itself just because there is a time change. So this is one way of analysis. And another thing is actually, suppose let us say this particular point actually is moved to this particular point. So that means that one particle actually moved from this point to this point. Now actually obviously it takes certain amount of time, and by the time it reaches actually there are two different aspects that you need to consider. One is there is a time change, along with that there is a space change. So these two together actually we are going to get a different value depending upon amount of time change, depending upon the amount of the space change as well for the same characteristic. So that means if you take the velocity, so this is the velocity and this is of q plus delta q. So this q plus delta q, the delta q value is dependent on both the time and the space together. This means actually we were talking about a 4-dimensional coordinate system here. So till now actually we were talking about only the 3-dimensional coordinate system, which we call that as the space coordinate system, but the time is actually added. So if time is added to that, then the way we handle is actually the function is of so x, y, z into t. Now if you want to find out the change in the value of the function, let us say if you want to find out the change in the value of the function is nothing but the time taking the total derivative of that particular function. So the total derivative of the function, right? So this total derivative actually df by dt if you want to calculate. So with respect to time actually we are calculating. With respect to t if you calculate it, and this is going to be obviously dou f by dou x into dx plus dou f by dou y into dy by dt, because we are taking the derivative with respect to t. So if this is not there, usually total derivative we express this as df is equal to dou f by dou x into dx plus dou f by dou y into dy plus dou f by dou z into dz plus dou f by dou t into dt. So this is how actually we will be expressing the total derivative if there are 4 different variables that are involved. Now this derivative with respect to one variable change. So this may be an involved variable or actually it may be a parameter as well. So in any case actually if there is a change in the value of t, now the change of this particular function can even be expressed as divided by dt and divided by dt and divided by dt and divided by dt. Now this dt will cancel, right? We are taking the change with respect to the time, but the change actually happening, there is a positional change and there is a time change. Now in this particular case, so usually the way we express is u is dx by dt and v is dy by dt and w is dz by dt. So these are the velocity components along the direction of x, along the direction of y, and along the direction of z. And the velocity vector actually usually treated as q is equal to ui plus vj plus wk. So this is the velocity vector. Now in this actually, if you try to carefully understand this, so this can even be written as, so df by dt can be written as, so dx by dt can be replaced with u. So this is u dou f by dou x plus v dou f by dou y plus w dou f by dou z plus dou f by dou t. So this is how actually you can express the value of df by dt as u into dou f by dou x plus v into dou f by dou y plus w into dou f by dou z plus dou f by dou t. Now this actually we'll put it in a different manner. So this df by dt can even be expressed as a dot product of q and del f plus dou f by dou t. So this is how actually we can express it. Now let us see how it is going to be. So q actually is u into I plus v into j plus w into k, and del actually is usually expressed as I dou by dou x plus j dou by dou y plus k dou by dou z, right? And this value actually, if you take the dot product of it, so del f actually, so this is I dou f by dou x plus j dou f by dou y plus k dou f by dou z. So this is the del f value. Now if you take the dot product of q dot del f, so q dot del f can even be written as, so I dot I is going to be of 1, then u dou f by dou x plus v dou f by dou y plus w dou f by dou z. That means this can be replaced with q dot del f for the case of u dou f by dou x plus v dou f by dou y plus w dou f by dou z. So that means from this particular total derivative of df by dt, you can even express this particular portion as, this is going to be of q dot del f. So q dot del f plus dou f by dou t. So this is how actually you can express it. Now this value, so if you notice this, if you replace it, so df by dt can be expressed as q dot del f plus dou f by dou t, or this can even be written as q dot del plus dou by dou t of f. So q dot del plus dou by dou t of f, and this portion whatever is there, this portion is called as the material derivative. So basically actually we are targeting a single point, that is we wanted to identify the change of the property when there is a change in the time along with the change in the position. The total derivative actually we wanted to express in a simpler format as q dot del plus dou by dou f of any particular property whatever we want. Now in this, if you notice, this particular portion purely involves space coordinates. Space coordinate. Right? Now if you change, so this is actually with respect to x, with respect to y, and with respect to z, actually we are taking the derivative. That means due to the positional change, what would be the change? So that is going to be given by q dot del. Similarly, sorry, just a minute. Okay, so this q dot del plus dou by dou t of f, right? So this portion actually it is purely due to the change in the position, and this portion, if you notice, this is dou by dou t. That means this is with respect to time. So when there is a property change from one location to another location, obviously it is expected to be changed within a spacing. Then the change can happen due to the time change, and the change can happen due to the position change as well. So this is called as the positional change. This is called as the positional change, and this is actually due to the time change, right? So this value actually q dot del, it was given a different name, q dot del, right? So this value actually whatever is there, so this value actually is called as the convective derivative. Convective derivative, because this is actually purely due to positional change. And this dou by dou t is called as the local derivative. So why we call this as the local derivative is because even though there is no positional change, that means locally if it is exactly the same point you wanted to identify again, but still actually due to the time change, automatically it is expected that there is a property change as well at the same position itself. That means if you take a single point here, now actually one particle is crossed from this particular point. Now actually it is having, it is having a velocity of 100 kmph, let us say. And then actually very next moment actually there is one more particle actually coming and crossing the same point, but actually this is happening at the same position but a different particle which is coming after a certain time. So obviously actually the velocity of that particle may be different even though we are targeting at the same point. So that velocity actually at the same point but after a certain time, hence actually this point change actually is called as the local derivative. So this local derivative is purely due to change actually this is happening, right? But actually if you move the space change also from here to here, suppose actually the same velocity at this particular point for this particular particle, if I take it again at this particular point, due to the positional change and due to the time change, so that happened from here to here, so both together needs to be considered. So hence actually this will be the total derivative. So there is two different sections actually that you need to understand. So whenever you wanted to identify the property change, you need to identify both the things. So hence actually this is called as the material derivative. So this material derivative is represented with d by dt of f. So d by dt, capital D, capital D. So d by dt actually this is what we call this as q dot del f plus dou f by dou t. And this is what is called as the material derivative. So this is convective, this is local, right? It's local derivative. Now the same thing actually if you apply on the velocity, so that means actually, so there is q is already involved in it. Now actually f is a general property. So this f is a general property, may not be velocity, right? General property, so maybe velocity, maybe acceleration, or maybe density. So any such kind of variable actually that can come in at this particular position. Now actually I'll give you 2 minutes time, you try to calculate the acceleration. So acceleration is dq by dt and this is what is called as the acceleration. So this acceleration velocity is, so dq by dt actually you have to calculate. Can you try to simplify, because you feel a little bit of difficulty in this. You try to simplify it. Find out the acceleration in the Euler coordinates, right? So the acceleration actually we need to find out, which is nothing but the total derivative, you need to find it out. So the total derivative is the derivative. So can you find out the acceleration? So what do you mean by in terms of x? It's not in terms of x, right? So you wanted to find out the acceleration of the particle. So acceleration of the particle. So we have to ignore the conventional way of analysis of the particles. So when the particle is moving, then actually that is what we call as the conventional. But this is actually drastically different. So there is nothing like in terms of x or in terms of y. So we are targeting f as a single property. That single property change we need to calculate. So that single property is the velocity now. The velocity, rate of change of velocity is nothing but the acceleration. So that's what we need to find out in terms of the Euler coordinates. Got it? Make it fast. Anybody got it? Fine. Okay, let me solve this. See this. So here actually we wanted to find out the rate of change of velocity. That means actually we were talking about the change in the velocity with respect to time. So acceleration is rate of change of velocity. But this rate of change is nothing but, here actually we were talking about there is a word called change, but the change can happen in due to the positional change or due to the time change as well. So this value, so dq by dt, and this is what we call as the acceleration a. This is the a vector. But dq by dt actually, in the case of the Euler coordinates, actually this is what is dq by dt. So this is the convex, so total derivative actually we need to calculate. So the total derivative actually this was defined as, so q dot del plus dou by dou t of q. So this is what is the value actually which we need to find out. Now q dot del plus dou by dou t of q, but q is equal to, this is the velocity which is expressed as ui plus vj plus wk. So this is the velocity. And this velocity vector actually if you replace it here, then actually obviously the acceleration is a vector. So even here also you will be arriving at a vector. Now this velocity, so this is q dot del operated on q. So this is the q vector. So this operator is on q plus dou q by dou t. Now whenever we do anything actually dimensionally it has to be valid. Obviously this q dot del will be a scalar operator. So q dot del is a scalar. Why? Because you can easily make out whether it is a scalar or not. So this is actually ui plus vj plus wk dot product with I dou by dou x plus j dou by dou y plus k dou by dou z. So now if you take the dot product of this, so this is u dou by dou x plus v dou by dou y plus w dou by dou z. Now see this, actually there is nothing like ijk in this. Now this is a scalar operator. Now the scalar operator operated on a vector. Now this entire value actually, so this is u dou by dou x plus v dou by dou y plus w dou by dou z, and this is operated on a vector. So this vector is ui plus vj plus wk. Obviously if a scalar operated on a vector, then the result is going to be a vector again. So plus dou by dou t of ui plus vj plus wk. And this value in a different way, so that actually it will be easy to understand. Now actually this u dou by dou x, sorry, dou u by dou x, v dou u by dou y plus w dou u by dou z into I plus v into, sorry, into I plus u dou v by dou x plus v dou v by dou x dou y plus w dou v by dou z into j plus u dou w by dou x plus v dou w by dou y plus w dou w by dou z into k plus dou u by dou t into I plus dou u by dou v by dou t into j plus dou w by dou t into k. So this is the resultant acceleration vector. Now out of this actually we will be separating it out. So the x component of the acceleration ax is equal to, so in that actually the x component is, this is I and this is also I, and these two together actually will be part of the x component. That means, so this is u dou u by dou x plus v dou u by dou y plus w dou u by dou z plus dou u by dou t. So this is the x component of the acceleration. Similarly, y component of the acceleration is u dou v by dou x plus v dou v by dou y plus w dou v by dou z plus dou v by dou t. This is the y component. Similarly, z component of the acceleration is az is equal to u dou w by dou x plus v dou w by dou y plus w dou w by dou z plus dou w by dou t. So this is the acceleration. Now in short, actually you can even write this. So this is actually, if you notice, q del plus dou by dou t operated on u. So this is q dot del plus dou by dou t operated on v. This is q dot del plus dou by dou t operated on w, or this is essentially, so du by dt, and this is dv by dt, and this is dw by dt. So this is nothing but the material derivative of the individual components of the velocities, right? So in total, if you want to find out the acceleration, so individual, actually you can take the material derivative of u, v, w, and then actually you can add up acceleration as a is equal to du by dt into I, dv by dt into j, so dw by dt into k. So this is the material derivative, or in general a is equal to dq by dt. So these are all one and the same. So but actually to remember this formulas, actually it will be much more difficult to understand, but essentially it is coming from this particular thing itself. So in textbook actually it was left like this. So that's actually you will get confused. So big formulas that are going to be there, but those are not big formulas. It is coming from this particular one. Got it? Any questions on this material derivative? Because actually this is what actually will be most of the times actually whenever we talk about, because actually the property is defined with 4 variables. So that means if you want to take the derivative, this is how you need to take the derivative anywhere. Any questions? Right? Okay. Fine. So the next concept is the continuity equation, right? So this is actually one of the important concept, and it is from the examination point of view also it is important, right? So continuity equation, the other term is actually the law of conservation of mass. So law of conservation of mass. So actually mass can never be created nor destroyed. So that is the meaning of it. So mass can never be created nor destroyed. Right? Now, what is this continuity equation is? Suppose actually if you take any closed volume, let us say actually imagine any particular closed volume. In that closed volume, right? So if there is actually some fluid that is entering, obviously the volume of this actually is going to be increased to that extent. So that means actually if there is a closed volume like this, and within this closed volume, let us say if there is a fluid that is going to be passing out, then actually obviously that much of amount of the fluid is getting reduced within this particular closed volume. So that is actually by common sense we can make out. Now actually mathematically how it can be expressed, that is the question. So common sense actually it says that the amount of outgoing flow is equal to the reduced amount of the flow within this. Or actually if the water is coming into this, then actually the amount of the water that is crossing all of this particular sphere is exactly the incremented volume of this particular sphere, obviously, right? So now actually let the density of the fluid be rho. So rho is a density of the fluid, but usually actually we were used to take the rho value as the constant, but that is specific to the homogeneous fluid, right? So if it is a heterogeneous fluid, then obviously actually at different points actually it may be having a different kind of density. So the heterogeneous fluid can even be interpreted as a gas. So gas may be having different densities at different points. So hence actually that can be treated as a heterogeneous fluid, right? So rho may be a function of x, y, z, t also, right? So that we don't know, right? So this is a heterogeneous. So heterogeneous heterogeneous fluid, right? Suppose actually it is a steady state. Steady state means actually with respect to time, if it is equal to 0, then that's what is called as the steady state. So steady state meaning there is no dependency on time. That means actually rho can be expressed as x, y, z itself, no dependency on time, right? So if it is actually with respect to time at that particular point, if it is maintaining constant, but it's dependent on only the space coordinates, now that can be called as a purely heterogeneous, right? Now this is a heterogeneous fluid, let us say. Now let us consider one elemental surface area at this particular point. So this elemental surface area at one particular point, now let us say the fluid actually is going out. And then actually let us consider the normal vector is going to be of n cap. So let n cap be the unit normal vector. N cap be the unit normal vector on the surface, right? So if it is the unit normal vector, then the amount of the fluid that is coming out of this particular surface, and this amount of the fluid actually when we talk about, there is a little bit of confusion here. So the amount of the fluid actually that may come exactly perpendicular to this, or actually that may even go in a slanted direction also. That means actually it's not sure that actually the amount of the fluid that is coming out will exactly perpendicular to this particular surface. But even then also, I will give you one example. So it will be the same amount of the fluid actually that will pass through. Suppose actually if there is a pipe like this. So this is a pipe. And this particular pipe actually what I do is actually I'll take one particular area of cross section like this exactly perpendicular to the flow, and the flow of the fluid actually is going in this particular direction. And then actually I will interpret one more surface which is exactly slant to this. So this is how actually I have interpreted one particular surface. Now this surface actually, so this surface, let us say it is having an area of cross section of A1, and this is it's a pipe, and exactly in between actually I have put one particular surface which is a perpendicular surface area to the flow, and this is a slant surface area. And this slant surface area, now actually whatever the amount of the fluid that is crossing this particular surface will be exactly the same amount of the fluid actually which is crossing the slant surface as well. Is that true? Is it true or not? Right? Obviously it is expected, but the area of cross section of this is going to be of A2. So which is having more area of cross section, this is having a lesser area of cross section, but it's a effective area of cross section, right? Now here actually, suppose if this is the flow direction, and then actually the normal to this particular, so in this particular case, if you notice, this is exactly on overlapping the flow direction normal of this particular surface, right? So the normal of this particular surface is exactly on the flow direction. Now in this particular case, this is the flow direction, right? So this is the flow direction, and then actually the normal to this particular surface is exactly this way. So this is the normal direction. Obviously it is expected that there is an angle of theta here. So there is an angle of theta. Now if this is the angle theta, then actually I wanted to find out an equivalent effective area of this particular surface. Now actually in such case actually what we do is actually this normal we are going to associate with this particular area, and we treat this particular area as a vector. So this is very important to understand. So usually actually area actually is suppose 100 meters square. I am not associating any direction there. So if I am not associating any direction to the area, obviously it is expected that actually it is going to be a scalar value. But in the case of the vector calculus, we do treat the area as a vector. The reason being that we were dealing with the flows. So flow considerably it involves the perpendicular area, which we call that as a effective area. That is essential to consider here. Now keeping that in mind, an elemental area along with its normal actually is treated as a area vector. So though it is a scalar, for the vector analysis purpose actually we are treating as a vector. So this is vector area we call. So this is the amount of area associated with its normal. With its normal is called as area vector, right? So though it is a scalar, actually we are treating area as a vector from now onwards. So whenever we talk about an area, it is always treated as a vector whose direction is normal to that particular surface. Now here in this particular case, the normal actually is exactly this way, and it is making an angle of theta with respect to the flow. Then actually this area, if I tilt it like this, so if I tilt this area like this, then actually it will be the effective area. That means this area A2 multiplied by the cos theta. So A2 cos theta will be equal to obviously A1, right? So A2 cos theta will be equal to the A1. That means suppose actually if I take the unit vectors in this direction, the flow direction, actually we take one unit vector, let us say this is of I, and then actually this unit vector, let us call this as the n cap. Then cos theta can be expressed as, so I dot n cap. So I dot n cap can even be called as the cos theta, where theta is the angle between the flow and the area normal. So this way actually I dot n actually can always be treated as the cos theta. Now here actually the flow directional unit vector and then actually n cap ds actually will give the area which is F2, which is exactly equal to A1. Now this concept actually we'll be using it here. Now this actually, let us say this is the outward normal vector. So even though flow is actually in any of the directions, so this actually we need to take care of it. So this is actually the elemental area ds. So this is n cap ds, which is the area vector. So n cap ds, so this is usually represented as ds vector like this. So ds vector is n cap ds. Now if the flow is actually going outward, then actually the velocity of the fluid actually it is going in the direction. So that may be a normal direction or may not be the normal direction. So the velocity actually, if it is moving in this particular direction, let us say this is the velocity vector. Now velocity can be treated as, so that is if the flow is, suppose actually the fluid is actually entering in this particular point. Now this is going to have an area of A, and the velocity of the fluid actually, let us say v is equal to dx by dt, and this is what is called as the velocity. Now the rate of flow, so rate of flow is nothing but the amount of the fluid that is entering. So amount of the fluid that is entering, what we call as the rate of flow, and the rate of flow is not with respect to time we are taking it. That means within 1 second how much is the amount of the flow actually that is going in. That's what we call as the rate of flow. Now the rate of flow actually, if you notice, so this is A is the area of cross section, and then actually so dx by dt. So that means this is nothing but AV, and AV value is nothing but the rate of inward volume of the fluid, right? So that is the inward volume of the fluid that is entering. Now if you consider at this particular point the rate of fluid that is going out of this particular surface, so this is going to be of the rate of outflow, but still it is going to be a volume. So this is nothing but actually we can even treat this as actually dV, which is nothing but the rate of volume, so dV by dt. But what we are interested is identification of the mass of the fluid actually that is going out. The mass of the fluid actually, obviously it is dependent on the density as well. So we know the standard rule actually, so mass by volume is the density, and this is called as the density. Now depending upon the position, as it is, so density, if it is a dependent on the position, that means if it is a heterogeneous fluid, then actually so mass can even be expressed as, so rho into dV. So this is the mass. So this is what is nothing but dm, which is nothing but the mass of the fluid actually that is exiting out. So rho also you need to consider it. And then actually rate of volume, or dm by dt if you wanted to consider it. So this is going to be of rho into dV by dt. Rho into dV by dt is the rate of mass. So this rate of mass can even be expressed as rho into, so dV can be even be expressed as area multiplied by dx divided by dt. So area multiplied by, so dx by dt, or actually rho into A into V. So rho into A into V, and this is what we call this as the rate of mass. So this is of dm by dt. Right? So here actually, now actually, if this particular closed surface, here in this particular closed surface, let us say it is traveling with a velocity of q, and the area of cross section is going to be of ds, which is a vector. Now q is a vector, and then actually ds is also a vector, and the density of the fluid actually at this particular point, if you consider it, so this is going to be of x comma y comma z. That means if you exactly compare the same thing here, actually we were talking about rho into A into V. So In place of V, this is going to be of Q. In place of rho, it is going to be of simply rho. And in place of this, actually this is going to be of ds. Now, if it is exactly a perpendicular flow, then actually you can straight away multiply it. If there is a slant flow, obviously it is expected that rho into Q dot ds. So this is the rate of flow. So dm by dt, which is nothing but the rate of mass change, will be equal to rho into Q into ds. Is this understood? Is this understood? How we arrived at this? Okay, so the slant part is actually, that is a simpler part. See this, here actually, whenever there is a fluid that is crossing this particular perpendicular area, this perpendicular area is the effective area of cross section. But though, even though if it is a slant surface area which is having a bigger surface area, but still the same amount of the fluid only it will cross this particular surface. So this is a ineffective way of using the area of cross section. So whenever we wanted to consider the effective flow outward, then actually you need to take care of the effective area of cross section that you are going to get if you make a dot product with the flow direction. So this area will be bigger area, but the effective is only the vertical area. So if this vertical area, if you are able to calculate, then actually that will be used for the calculation purpose, right? Because it is the same amount of the fluid that is crossing, will be even crossing exactly the same amount, but with a different area of cross section, which is very, very bigger. But that bigger area is effective, only this portion is effective. For that, actually, this cos theta will come in as a factor. Got it? Anupam, understood? Right? Any other questions? Yeah. So dot operator, actually, we will be using it here to take care of any kind of surface. So if it is perpendicular area perfectly, then theta is going to be of 0. If it is non-perpendicular, then actually amount of the area, so amount of the angle that we are going to consider it. So that actually this normal itself actually will take care of that particular portion, because actually we are using the dot product there. So the dot product, if you notice, the normal direction to any closed surface is different at different points. Suppose actually if you take this particular surface, so this is one normal, this is one normal, and this is one normal. So that means where you are considering that particular point actually will give the normal at that particular point. So hence actually when we calculate the normal, so even this n cap vector calculus, actually we do calculate n cap is equal to del phi divided by mod of del phi. So this is the unit normal vector, where del phi is the normal to the surface. So del phi, where phi is the surface. So if phi is the surface, which is nothing but a function of x comma y comma z, del phi value will give the normal vector. If you divide with the modulus of that, then this is going to be a unit normal vector. This unit normal vector may be a constant or may be a function of x comma y also. Function of x, y, z. So this is function of x comma y z, but actually it is a vector function that you have to keep it in mind. So this is going to be a vector function, because actually at each point actually it is going to have a different direction that is going to be associated. So it will be a variable vector equation. Got it? Is this understood, Punya? Right? So once that normal is taken care, then actually the dot product of this actually we are bringing in, because actually we wanted to consider the effective area always. So there, if you notice, the effective area is dependent on the q direction and the unit normal vector to the surface. So q dot n actually will take care of the effective area, and hence actually this is the total amount of the flow that accurately calculated without having any mistake. So that is the reason actually we were using this dot product, right? Now actually, so finally actually we are talking about the rate of flow. So the rate of flow is actually rho into q dot ds. Now so this is for an elemental surface area what we have considered. Now we have a bigger surface area. So every area actually we wanted to take care of it. For that actually what we do is actually we take the integral of this. So the amount of the outward flow, the amount of the outward flow. So this is going to be of the entire surface area we need to consider. So this entire surface area, yes. So this is the total surface area, and rho into q dot ds. So where ds is a vector and q is a vector, and rho may be a function of x comma y comma z also, because it is a heterogeneous fluid we wanted to consider. So that actually we can generalize it. If it is a homogeneous fluid, then obviously it will be a constant value, right? So that's what actually usually water is a homogeneous fluid. So oil is a homogeneous fluid, but gas is the only one actually where there is a heterogeneous nature, right? Now rho into Q into ds. Now this is actually a double integral with ds and with one vector. Obviously you can express with the help of the Gauss divergence theorem. So Gauss divergence theorem, what it says is, so this is a vector identity. So what Gauss divergence theorem says is, so integral f dot ds. So integral f dot ds, where f is a vector and ds is a surface area vector. And then actually this value can even be expressed in a triple integral form, v del dot f dv. So this is as per the Gauss divergence theorem, right? So this Gauss divergence theorem actually now del dot f dv over the complete surface area. So actually it is enclosing certain volume. So over that particular volume, whatever the integral value if you calculate for del dot f, that will be exactly equal to the surface area vector. So where actually we have considered the entire surface area there. So these two are actually equivalent. Actually even now also actually in the continuity equation also we prove this particular one. Now see this actually, so if you apply del dot f on this, so that means actually this is the f vector, this entire rho q is the f vector, and then actually ds is actually one more vector. Then actually you can apply del dot f. So this is integral over the surface area rho q dot ds vector can even be expressed as triple integral over the volume. So del dot rho q dv. So this is as per Gauss divergence theorem. So this is as per the Gauss divergence theorem, right? Now this flow actually, if you consider the closed surface as the system, then actually outward flow you can consider as the negative, and then actually inward flow actually you can consider as the positive. Hence actually from the closed surface area, the outward flow actually which we have calculated now. So how much is the amount of the flow that is going out? That's what we have calculated, and let us consider this going to be a negative. So the outward flow, so outward flow, let us consider as negative. Negative, and the inward flow, let us consider as positive. So the amount of the outward flow is equal to this value. So this is the amount of the outward flow. Now let us consider this point as it is. Now actually we look at this particular mass change in a different way. Now the amount of the fluid that is going out is exactly equal to the amount of the fluid that is getting reduced within this particular volume, right? Now actually let us consider the mass of this entire closed box. So the mass actually we usually calculate as the rho dv, which is nothing but the mass. So let the mass of the fluid within the closed surface So within the closed surface, let it be m is equal to, so over the complete volume, rho into dv. So this is the complete mass of that particular fluid that is present within that, right? So rho dv is the mass of the fluid, obviously, right? So density into volume, so that is nothing but the mass. So this is actually rho into dv. This is the elemental mass, dm. Now this dv needs to be considered for the completed closed surface, so which will enclose certain volume. So that volume integral actually we should consider it. So this, if you integrate it, so this is going to be of the, obviously it is expected that it is a triple integral over the complete closed volume, which will give the mass. So this is going to be of m is equal to rho dv over the triple integral over the complete volume. So this is m. But actually if you notice, we have derived this equation as, so dm by dt, so this is the rate of flow actually what we have considered. Rate of means with respect to time. So that means with respect to time actually the amount of the fluid that is going out is exactly equal to the amount of the fluid that is getting reduced here, right? So obviously it is expected that, so the rate of outflow is equal to the rate of change of mass within the closed volume. Right? Now actually the increment usually you take as the positive, and then actually decrement we usually take as the negative. Then actually minus of the increment is going to be the decrement, right? So this is obviously this value, which is nothing but the rate of outward flow, we have calculated as del dot rho q into dv, and this is the volume integral. So this is the rate of outflow. So this is the rate of outflow. This is exactly equal to the rate of increase of volume within this particular mass. So this is nothing but d by dt of, so mass is actually rho dv. So d by dt. So rate of increment of volume is equal to the outward flow. So this is increment we are talking about, hence it has negative value. So rate of increase of the volume within this particular closed surface is exactly equal to the amount of the fluid actually that is passing out. The rate is going to be of negative rate. So that means negative rate means it is actually reducing. Now this actually d by dt, if you take into the inside value, then this is going to be of, so triple integral over the volume minus dou rho by dou t of dv, dou rho by dou t. Sign convention not clear. So sign convention, so there is nothing but confusion here. So there is a closed volume. Within that closed volume, actually the amount of the fluid that is passing out is exactly equal to the negative rate of change of the volume of the fluid that is getting reduced within this particular one. Obviously, right? Is this understood, Ashwardhan? So you say that the rate of increment is positive, rate of decrement is negative. So as the fluid is passing out, the increment is going to be of negative, which is nothing but the rate of decrement of the fluid within the closed surface is exactly equal to the rate of outward flow. Why we have taken the partial derivative? So because actually d by dt is the total derivative. Rho may be a function of x, y, z. So or actually it may be dependent on multiple things. But actually as we take any integral, any derivative within the integral value, it has to be always a partial derivative, because actually the way we integrate is different, the way we do a differentiation is different. So this is a standard rule. This we can discuss in the case of the calculus. So whenever there is a derivative, if we are taking into the integral, it is always a partial derivative. So this is of minus dou rho by dou t of dv. Now this value actually, this is also a volume integral, this is also a volume integral. Then obviously it is expected that this portion is exactly equal to this particular portion. So this value del dot rho q is equal to minus dou rho by dou t, or del dot rho q plus dou rho by dou t is equal to 0. This is what is called as the continuity equation. So this is a continuity equation, right? So where is that? So where is the confusion, Punya? So I hope there is no confusion. Fine. Okay. So this is the final equation. So this is called as the continuity equation. But actually this continuity equation actually is reduced to a greater extent. How we are going to reduce to a greater extent is, so here actually del dot rho q dou rho by dou t. So let us consider a homogeneous incompressible fluid. So a homogeneous incompressible fluid, right? Okay. So here actually why we have taken rho q rather than q itself? That is that the question. So here actually rho is a function of x comma y comma z. Actually that's what we have taken, which is a general case we wanted to analyze. So assuming that that is a heterogeneous and non-incompressible fluid, right? Non-incompressible means actually there is a possibility of expansion, there is a possibility of compression as well. Even such case also actually this equation is valid, right? So here actually when we consider this, yeah, see this. So rho q dot ds actually this is what actually we have considered here, and this rho q entirely we treated as a single vector function, because actually a vector multiplied by a scalar, that scalar actually you can take it into the function itself. That means f is, so q is expressed as, let us say, function of x comma y comma z to I plus psi of x comma y comma z into j plus xi of x comma y comma z into k. So this is a q vector, right? Now actually you multiply one more function. Suppose actually rho is a function of x comma y comma z, because actually we were taking a general case. So many of the times actually we were used to take the rho value as the constant, assuming that incompressible homogeneous fluid. So that is water actually is a incompressible homogeneous fluid that everybody knows. Now this rho may be a different at different positions. Now in such case actually rho may be a function of x comma y comma z. If you multiply these two, obviously actually two different functions getting multiplied to this. Now actually you will get one more vector, f is equal to rho of x comma y comma z into phi of x comma y comma z into j, so into I. Similarly, rho of x comma y comma z into psi of x comma y comma z into j. Similarly, rho of x comma y comma z into xi of x comma y comma z into k. Now see this, the vector is actually how it is getting changed, because rho is a function of x comma y comma z. Hence actually that entire thing you have to take care to apply the Gauss divergence theorem, because Gauss divergence theorem states that if there is one vector function f with dot ds, then that is going to be, you need to take that as the del dot f. So that actually we have to take care. I hope you understood. This understood? So any questions here? Anyway, so Punya, actually maybe you discuss offline. I think so everybody understood. Okay, you discuss offline, so I will clarify you. Right? Okay. So let us consider a homogeneous and incompressible fluid. So homogeneous and the incompressible fluid, then actually in such case obviously it is expected that rho is equal to constant. So this is the usual case actually we are going to analyze, right? Now in such case actually if rho is equal to constant, then see this del dot rho q, rho being a constant you can take it out. So del dot q plus dou rho by dou t will be 0, because rho being a constant, and this is going to be of 0. Hence actually it is going to be of del dot q is equal to 0. And this is what actually we always state that actually in the case of the vector calculus as. So this is for an incompressible fluid, the del dot q value is going to be of 0. So here actually we are assuming the rho value as the constant. If that is not the case, and this is the equation that we need to use, and this is a general continuity equation. So this is a general continuity equation, right? And this general continuity equation actually is valid for homogeneous and the non-homogeneous fluids. So are the heterogeneous fluids actually. So this equation is valid. If it is homogeneous and incompressible, then obviously rho value is going to be a constant. Now if you notice heterogeneous fluid meaning, so that is a characteristic of the space. So at different positions actually it is going to be assuming different values. But if you try to, the fluid is going to be of the compressible nature, then that characteristic at that particular point actually is subjected to change, because actually the amount of the fluid pressure actually will change the density at that particular point. So that is the reason actually we take that particular value as the function of x comma y comma z for all the heterogeneous fluids. Got it? So this is what is called as the continuity equation. Any questions on this? You can ask me now. Any questions? Continuity equation. Okay, clear. Okay, great. Right now actually, so this actually sometimes actually it is further simplified, or else actually you can leave it. So this is easy to remember, and from this actually you can easy to classify this. But in textbook actually he made more complicated, but this is how actually you have to do it, and this is how actually is precise, and you will be able to understand clearly, right? Okay, and then actually the same kind of continuity equation depending upon. So do we have compressible fluid in the case of the syllabus? No, we don't have that. Right? Okay. So now actually the same kind of continuity equation can even be proved with different coordinate systems. That is, if you take a Cartesian coordinate system, now actually I'll give the idea, you try to solve it. In the next class actually I'll solve it for you. Now actually this is the x-axis and this is y-axis and this is the z-axis, right? Now consider an elemental parallelepiped. That is, if you take one particular elemental parallelepiped here, then so this is an elemental parallelepiped. Now let us say the horizontal length is going to be of dx and this length, so the vertical length is going to be of dy and this value is going to be of dz. Now this is the elemental parallelepiped actually, which is having a length with height as dx, dy, dz. Now let us consider a velocity of q. So let us consider a velocity of the fluid q, which is equal to, q value is ui plus vj plus wk, right? So this is the velocity of the fluid. That means there is a, so the fluid actually, so this is p, q, r, s, and this is p dash, q dash, r dash, s dash surface. Now actually I am considering the fluid flow in the direction of x, so which is actually having a velocity of u in this direction. In the direction of y, this is the velocity of v, and in the direction of z actually this is the velocity of w. So at this particular point when the fluid is entering, and this entering actually, so once it enters actually it may go up or it may go down or actually it may go right or actually it may come back or any direction actually that may be possible. But let us consider the fluid direction only in the direction of x, and that value actually you can extend for all the directions. Now actually if the fluid is actually coming in this direction, then once at this particular point p, it entered and actually it exited at p dash, right? So it entered and exited. Now let us say if it is entered at point A, point P, then the amount of the fluid that is going in, so this is going to be of, so this is having a density of rho, and then actually the area of cross section of this is actually the surface area is, so this is of dz and this is of, so this is the area, right? So this is of dy. So dy dz is the area of cross section, and then actually fluid is having a velocity of u here. So the amount of the volume or the amount of the mass entering at surface phi. So this will be the area of cross section into, so dy dz, this is the area of cross section multiplied by the density multiplied by the velocity. So the velocity is going to be of u in the horizontal direction, because actually this is the surface area we were considering where it is projected in the z direction and the y direction and the flow is in the x direction. Now this is the amount of the fluid actually that is entering. Now let us call this as the f. So this f may be a function of x comma y comma z. Now this f value, which is nothing but the fluid flow rate at that particular incident. So fluid flow rate at point P. Now the same fluid flow rate actually at the point P dash, it is obviously it is expected to change. So once the enters actually, it may change its velocity or it may change its density or it may change its, so direction also it may change. Now actually once it enters at point P, by the time it exits, then actually the functional value, so this is actually, if I call this as f of x comma y comma z, and this value is equal to u rho into dy dz. If this is the f of x comma y comma z, then actually in the x direction there is a change to that particular function. So this is nothing but the flow rate in the direction of x. So this is the flow rate in the direction of x. Now by the time actually it exits out, so f becomes actually f of x plus delta x comma y comma z by the time actually it exits at p dash, because actually there is a positional change in the direction of x, not in the direction of y and z, right? Because actually we are talking about the horizontal flow here. Now in that way, so this is going to be of f, and then actually f of plus delta x y comma z. So this value, if we expand with the help of the Taylor's expansion, this is going to be of f of x comma y comma z plus delta x times of or dx times of So dou F by dou X. So for the first order approximation, actually we are approximating with the help of the Taylor's expansion only for the first order. So higher order terms actually we are neglecting it. So this is as per Taylor's expansion. Right. So this is as per the Taylor's expansion. Now the amount of the fluid that is incremented within this particular closed volume is equal to the outward flow minus inward flow. Right. Sorry, increment is inward flow minus outward flow. So the amount of the fluid incremented within the closed volume due to the flow in the direction of x. In the direction of x, right? So obviously f of x by, so this is going to be of amount of inward flow minus amount of outward flow. Right, amount of outward flow. So inward flow is actually, it is given that f of x comma y comma z, and then the outward flow is minus of f of x comma y comma z plus dx times of dou f by dou x. Dou x, right? Now if you do it, so this is going to be resulting minus dx into dou f by dou x. Right, so minus dx into dou f by dou x. But actually f was mentioned as, so f is actually u into rho into dy by dz. So u into rho into dy by dz, that you can replace it here. So this is minus dx into dou by dou x of u into rho into dy into dz. Now dy dz minus dx dy dz, you can take out dou u rho by dou x. So this is the amount of the fluid increment within the closed parallel pipe when the flow is in the direction of x. Similarly, when the flow is of in the direction of y, then actually this is going to be of minus dx dy dz dou v rho by dou y. Right. So this is actually due to the flow in the direction of y. Right. Similarly, due to the flow in the direction of z. In the direction of z, so this value obviously it is expected as minus of dx dy dz dou by dou z of v w into rho, where w is the velocity in the direction of z. So like this actually you can add it. Now actually when the flow is actually that is happening, if you consider any middle point, it is always expected that the flow can happen in any direction. So simultaneously actually it may go in the direction of u, in the direction of v, and in the direction of w as well. Hence actually the sum of all the flows together actually it will be the total accumulated fluid within this particular closed volume. So the total accumulated fluid so this is going to be of minus dx dy dz, and then actually so dou by dou x of u rho plus dou by dou y of v rho plus dou by dou z of w rho. So this is the amount of the fluid actually that got accumulated due to the flow in all the directions, right? So this amount of the fluid, obviously there is a rate of increment of the fluid within that particular closed volume. So the rate of increment of the fluid actually that will be exactly equal to the amount of the fluid actually that is passing into this. So that means this is accumulated, and this value actually you consider the mass. So that is, let the mass of the fluid, so this is going to be of rho into dx into dy into dz. So this is the mass of the fluid. So elemental volume, right? So this actually, the flow rate actually, if you try to equate it, this is going to be of, so this is of dm. So the rate of increment of the mass within that particular closed volume, so dm by dt is equal to dx dy dz into dou rho by dou t, right? So this is going to be of the rate of increment of the mass. Now this rate of increment of the mass is exactly equal to the amount of the fluid that got accumulated, and we just calculated that the amount of the fluid that got accumulated, amount of the fluid accumulated equal to amount of the fluid of increase of mass. Within the closed parallel pipe. Right, within the closed parallel pipe, you can take it. Now this value is going to be of dx dy dz dou rho by dou t is equal to minus dx dy dz, then so dou by dou x of u rho plus dou by dou y of v rho plus dou by dou z of w rho. So these two are equal. Now these two you can cancel it out, and then actually what is left over is dou by dou x of u rho plus dou by dou y of v rho plus dou by dou z of w rho plus dou rho by dou t is equal to 0. So this is the continuity equation in the case of the Cartesian coordinate system. Got it? So it is exactly the same thing actually what we have replicated, but adapted to a specific coordinate system. Because actually the questions were asked actually by adapting to different types of coordinate systems. Actually, I did notice actually some of the questions actually that were asked. But essentially, if you notice, what we have done is, so we have taken one closed surface. Within that closed surface, actually, that is exactly suitable to our coordinate system. Is actually we have assumed that is as a Cartesian coordinate system in the direction of x, y, and z. Actually, we have assumed. Now, in that case, actually, we have calculated the amount of the fluid inflow, and then actually we have taken the mass separately, and we have calculated the rate of mass increment, and these two are actually equal to each other. Now, that's what we call as the continuity equation, which essentially talks about the law of conservation of mass. Got it? And the same thing actually we have derived it. Now, actually, this can be adapted with the UV rule, and then actually, so in the textbook, actually, it was complicated further, saying that actually, so you can take the UV rule, apply, because actually u is a function of x comma y comma z, and v is a function of x comma y comma z, rho is a function of x comma y comma z, and w is a function of x comma y comma z. So you can apply it, and then actually you can separate it. Otherwise, actually you can leave it as it is, and you can remember. Got it? Any questions? Yeah, you can arrive this from the general equation of the continuity also. So general equation of the continuity is generic to all the coordinate systems, but specifically actually it was asked. So that is the reason actually we have derived. In the next class actually I will even do the Cartesian, so other coordinate systems also. Any questions? You can try it also. So from the general continuity equation also you can take it, and then actually you can arrive at this, and even for other coordinate systems also you can arrive it from the general equation also. So you can try for other coordinate systems by assuming appropriate volume, and then it will try to do the same thing. But the concept is pretty clear in the case of the continuity equation. Only thing what he is talking about is rate of increment of the mass is exactly equal to the flow that got accumulated. That's it. This is a single statement. Right? Yeah. So we have to go like this if it is specifically asked. So actually he talks about in this particular coordinate system, try to prove the continuity equation for the flow like this. So or for a particular shape he gives. Fine. So any other questions? Yeah, you can write this. So at the end actually you can even write this actually del dot rho q. So this is also there. So del dot rho q plus dou rho by dou t. So this is what essentially actually we proved as a continuity equation. So this is a continuity equation. But the same thing actually you can apply for any coordinate system. Fine. Okay. Yeah. So that's all for today. You can try to solve the problems from the material which are related to this continuity equation. So this knowledge is enough actually. We need to solve only the problems. That's all.